Put your hands together, please. Welcome the one, the only David Yost. You can do better than that. You can do a lot better than that. Keep it going.
Thank you. Test, test.
We're all good. Welcome aboard. So great to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for coming out on a Friday, midday. Well, early day for me, but thank you. I didn't think there'd be this many people, so that's very kind.
Yeah. Did you want to say a few things? Get right to questions? Whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody that's here. I'm assuming you're fans of Power Rangers on some level, so thank you for that. Here I am almost 30 years later, which makes me grandpa. And so I just want to thank you all for being here and being diehard fans of Power Rangers, because without people like you, I would not be who I am, and the original cast, we would not be who we are. You sent us into a whirlwind back in the 90s, and your poor parents trying to buy toys for you, trying to control you and tell you don't kick your brother, don't kick your sister, all that good stuff. So, you know, I just, from the bottom of my heart, just thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys mean the world to me, and I know you mean the world to the original cast, so thank you. And from there, I guess I don't have too much to say other than we can do questions. It's usually the best way, because sometimes people have really burning questions that they need to know, and I'm happy to answer that as best I can.
Great. And let's start right off the bat.
I see one right here. Hello, David. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you. I just met you, Andrew, right?
Yep, that's right. Yep, Billy, the best Blue Ranger.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you.
All right. So my question was, what was your fondest memory of working on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the Zeo Rangers, and the movie itself? The best part about working on all of those movies? Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I mean, obviously, for me, the first season was the best in terms of fun, just because we were all unknown actors, and we basically filmed the entire 40 episodes before the show even started airing. So we really had no gauge of how popular the show was going to become or how it was going to be received. And so as a cast, we just went through so much together, and we had so much fun, and we were like brothers and sisters. So whenever I think back, I just mostly remember doing a lot of stuff from the first season, and just how magical it was, and for all of us. And then when the show aired, not only in the United States but around the world, we became the #1 kids show, and it was a crazy experience from that point on. But so, you know, just the entire first season. I hope that answers your question. Okay, good.
Okay, and question right back here too, same side.
Thank you again for being here today.
You're welcome.
Was there any, like, if you had to find a ratio, if you will, to how much original footage versus the Sentai footage, particularly in that earlier season, about how much time did you spend specifically in the suit, and how much of it was either Sentai or stunt doubles?
Gotcha. First of all, when you use the word ratio, it causes shockwaves through my body, because I only played smart on TV. I'm not really smart in real life. So you suddenly put me in either algebra or geometry class again, and I was like, oh crap, I don't know the answer. But yeah, I mean, the first season basically was all Japanese footage for the most part, but we were always in our uniform, our Power Ranger spandex. Every episode, you would see us in the command center, take off our helmet and all that kind of stuff. We did have to do what we call interstitial shots. So that means like we would do like one last fight move, and then we would stop, like if we were in the park, and we'd maybe take off our helmet or say something like that to sort of marry the Japanese footage and the American footage together. But certainly the whole first season, I would say, is Japanese footage. There might be one or two little fights here and there. And then as we went into the second season, we were running out of Japanese footage, so we had to start making everything in the United States. And but I would say the majority of all of that was stunt doubles. simply because when you're the face of the actor, you can't get injured, because if you do, it shuts down production. So whenever you see us fighting as civilians, like ourselves, that's always us. But in terms of fighting in the uniform, rarely would it be us, simply because of the helmets and the limited visibility and breathing capabilities and all that kind of stuff. I would certainly say that, the majority of the actors, like Jason David Frank, Austin, Twee, Walter, Amy, all could do fights, if necessary, in the costume. But, just as a legal standpoint from production, we weren't allowed to. Okay?
Another question right back here.
Sure.
Whenever you transitioned in Zeo from like being a ranger to more like of an advisory role, was that hard for you, or was it kind of a relief because it was a little bit less physical and a little bit more, less hands-on as far as the stunts and everything go?
Yeah, I don't know if it was. It was certainly easier by a lot of means. I didn't have to work as much, but I still got paid as much, so that was good. But it's. I don't know how to explain it, but to go from being a superhero to the technical advisor was a little awkward in the beginning, but I think it was a natural progression for my character. So I don't hate it by any means. But nothing was more difficult or nothing was less difficult per se. I just didn't have to wear spandex. And that's not always bad.
Quick question. Did you ever meet your Japanese counterpart?
I've never met my Japanese counterpart, but I have met the Pink Ranger, the Red Ranger, and I can never remember if it was the Black or Yellow Ranger, but one of those two, several years ago at a Comic-Con. So they're super, super nice people.
Right. Well, I've got a question for you right here, and then we've got a couple questions right here as well to follow.
Okay.
My question, I noticed during the bumper, there was a lot of back flips and front flips and flipping around. And can you tell us a little bit about your background, gymnastic-wise, and how much of that was actually you versus your Japanese counterpart?
Well, again, it's basically sort of similar to that question over there. The Japanese footage was always the Japanese actors. I did grow up being a gymnast. I would say probably in second grade, my gym teacher and teachers had a conversation with my parents that I was kind of wild and sort of hard to control. And so they suggested that they put me in gymnastics because in gym I would just be flipping around. I would teach things to myself, I guess. And so, I slowly but surely got into gymnastics and started competing from probably fourth grade on as a competitive gymnast throughout the country. So whenever you see me or Amy Jo flipping in the TV show as us, that's always us doing our flips, and in the movie and all that kind of stuff. So as civilians, it's always us again.
All right. Got a question for you right here.
Hello, David. One of my favorite childhood memories was when my parents took me to see Power Rangers live. Did you have the chance to perform at any of them? Or if you couldn't, did you at least have the chance to see any of the shows?
I always hate to have this conversation with you guys because it's very depressing. So many of you have, over the years, have come up to my table and said, "Oh my God, it was so awesome. I got to come see you at your live performance. That was so cool." And I would have to say, well, it's not really us. It's, they had, I think they had like 10 different, what we call stunt shows going on around the country in different parts of the country at one time. They would use our voices. They would take lines that we said on the TV show and kind of cut it together to make this live performance. But no, we never personally were at any of those. And I don't ever think I got to see one. I mean, over the years, people have recorded it and I think put it on YouTube, and then I've been able to watch it. But during the day, we were, back in the 90s, we were so busy filming the TV show, and then we were off filming the movie and all that kind of stuff. So there just was never any time for us to actually go, for me anyways, to go see one of the shows. So I would have liked to have, though. But good question, and I hope you're not going to go home depressed and disappointed now. Sorry.
Another question for you right here.
What was your personal favorite monster in Power Rangers?
So I did 200 episodes, so there's so many interesting monsters, I'll put it that way. The eye guy I thought was really creepy and interesting. I think we fought a purse once, and I always thought that was, where did that come from? We're fighting a purse. So, there's just so many interesting monsters that were out there. In terms of villains, though, like once they introduced Lord Zed, I thought, wow, he's really cool. But my all-time favorite villain is obviously Ivan Ooze from the movie, because he was played by Paul Freeman, such a talented actor. And when I'm reading Ivan Ooze, when I first got the script, I was like, I wonder how they're going to play this. And then to see Paul Freeman step into that role and what he did with it, it was really amazing. And he's so talented. And he made Ivan Ooze lovable. You're not supposed to love the villain, but he made him lovable. So that's the challenge for actors to do sometimes. So, cool.
All right, got a question for you right over here.
Going off of the question about your transition into the technical advisor in Zeo, were you ever actually approached to become the Gold Ranger, or was Austin St. John always going to take over the role?
Austin St. John was not always supposed to be the Gold Ranger. It just kind of became a happy coincidence. And I was never approached to be the Gold Ranger. However, the writers and the producers certainly teased that Billy was going to be the Gold Ranger, but it was never meant to be. They were going over different actors at the time who was going to play the Gold Ranger. I believe they introduced, his first name is Brad. He was on the TV show VR Troopers. At one time, they were considering bringing him over to be the Gold Ranger. And then Austin kind of came into the mix, and they thought that would be best, and he became the Gold Ranger. Although I will say, no offense to Austin, people do come up to me and give me the Gold Ranger doll and say, "Will you autograph this for me?" And I'd be like, "But I wasn't the Gold Ranger," and they're like, "We know you were." So it's happened quite a few times. So it's sweet, but I wasn't the Gold Ranger, obviously.
Okay, another question right here for you.
What was the casting process like for like that original season? Like when you guys all got together, and two, what changed for the movie? Like, was it a different approach from the TV show? Obviously, movie to TV, but was it basically you guys kept it basic, or?
On the second part of your question, are you talking casting still, or you're just saying what was it like to go from the TV show to a movie?
Yeah, like production-wise, like.
Okay. I don't mean to be rude. I feel like there's food in my teeth, and you guys are recording me, so I just got to check real quick. Okay, just double checking. All right. In terms of the casting process for the original series, it was an interesting process. I had just moved to Los Angeles. I'd only been there for about 3 months, and I saw this open casting call for a TV show called Phantoms, and there was 5 characters, and I fit the first character, which was Victor, who they wanted somebody that looked like Jason Priestley or Luke Perry, kind of thing, and I had the sideburns and the big hair and all that. So I went in, I sent my headshot in, and they called me in immediately, and I went in and I read for the role of Victor 3 times, which eventually became the character of Jason. So I had 3 auditions for that role, but I knew I wasn't going to get it. Because I could see what direction they were going. And so I asked to read for Billy, and they told me no because, we have all these guys, and this is kind of the direction we're going, and you don't fit into that at all. I believe on the breakdown it said they wanted a young Rick Moranis type from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and all that kind of stuff. And so I had to beg a few times to let me read for the role of Billy, and they kept telling me no, so I had to think on my feet, and I went in the bathroom and wet my hair down, and I borrowed somebody's glasses, and I borrowed somebody's button-up shirt, and I buttoned it wrong, and I said, "Please, I know I can do this." And so they let me read for it, and so I went in and I read for Billy, and I guess they liked what they saw, and I had 5 more auditions for the role of Billy, and eventually at the end of the day, I won. So that was cool. But in terms of the audition process with the original cast, it was kind of interesting because when it all came towards the end, they actually made 3 different casts. So there was an A cast, a B cast, and a C cast. And then we have to go to network. And when you go to network, it's up to the network to decide what cast they want. Or the network could have said, we like the Billy from this cast, and we like the Kimberly from this cast, and we like the Jason from this cast. They could have mixed and matched like that, but thankfully I was in cast A, and they liked everybody in cast A, so we all made it. And I would say what made us stand out against the other two groups was that Austin, Walter, myself, Amy Jo, and another girl that played the Yellow Ranger at the time, we would all go to lunch together, and we would work on our lines, and we became actual friends, so that when we went into the audition process, we had this real chemistry together. And so I think, that really helped us. Plus, we were all really talented gymnasts and dancers and martial artists, and we were all short, so that helped. The other cast, there was one cast, they were all super tall. There was another cast, and they were just a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I think we just had the strongest chemistry, and I think that really came across on screen. In terms of your second question, going from the TV show to the movie, I mean, the only real difference, one, we had to go to Australia to film the movie, so we're in a whole different country. And back in the day, Australia was about 15 years behind American. Conveniences, I'll say. So in America, we're very spoiled in so many ways. Whenever we want something, we can typically go out and find it. And so, but in Australia, you want to go out to dinner, and at 6 o'clock, a lot of the restaurants are closed. So it's like, what's going on? This is dinner time. But, just little things that we took for granted back then. So it was interesting to be in a different country and filming a movie. We were only supposed to be there for 3 months. But because of all these production things that happened, they had to replace the actress who was playing Dulcia, because we filmed a lot of the movie, and then what they do is they put it into a test market. So they bring a bunch of little kids into a theater, and they play clips and see how kids respond. And so they weren't responding to a lot of different elements that were happening. And so we replaced Dulcia. There were some monsters in there too. They weren't monsters, but they were monsters, but they were nice monsters, and they weren't testing well at all. Kids weren't responding to them. So we had to go back and we reshot a lot of what we reshot already. So we were actually over there for 6 months instead of 3 months. And because of that, we got behind on the TV show. So they started making us film the movie and the TV show at the same time. So that's complicated in itself. And there was a period where we worked 21 days straight with no days off. And then on top of that, we had to do our voiceovers. So whenever you see us in costume and all that, we're doing fights and we talk, we have to go back into a studio and do our ADR is what we call it, and put our voices over our costume characters. So we would have to squeeze 2-hour little slots here and there to go into a studio somewhere late at night and do our voiceovers on the TV show as well. So it was a lot of work. There's no real difference other than on the movie, a bigger budget, bigger sets, and it looked cool. I recently, it's playing on HBO right now, so there was one night a couple weeks ago where I couldn't sleep, and I just happened to turn on the TV, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Power Rangers the movie is coming up, and so I stayed up and watched it, and I actually enjoyed it. So that was a lot of fun. Hopefully, in a long roundabout way, that answered your question. Okay.
All
A
right,
lot of information there. Go ahead.
Another question right here for you.
All right. In the pilot episode, as well as on the original packaging for the 1993 action figures, the aesthetic of Billy looked a little different. My question is, why the change, and did you have anything to do with that, or was that something from production?
The packaging, first of all, is very upsetting. Those photos that are on the very original toys, those were just considered test shots. So didn't have makeup on, I had all my acne and everything showing, so that doesn't help. But they were just testing what they wanted Billy to look like, and so those are just considered test shots. So I don't know why they chose that for the packaging, just because they were probably trying to get the toys made right out of the gate before we even started filming the TV show. The change from the unaired pilot to the TV series, I'm not really sure how it totally came about. One, because we had a different costume designer, and so she had this image of what she wanted the actors to look like, and what I kind of wore in the unaired pilot is not what she wanted. She wanted Billy in overalls, in case you guys didn't know. So almost for 40 episodes, I wore overalls. Not fun. I don't ever want to wear overalls again. And so that was sort of her aesthetic for Billy. And they changed the glasses, I think, just because they wanted to have a more technical looking glasses. So the glasses I wore in the very beginning kind of had more of a, I don't know, technical kind of thing, like a robot-y thing. So I don't really know the reason. I didn't really have a say in it. So I would say it was more production, wardrobe, and potentially props, because glasses come from the props department. So they would bring in like 10 glasses and say, you choose. And so those are the ones we landed on.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of wardrobe, like the overalls, a lot of the clothes, was those regular clothes? Because there's a lot of flips, spins. Were they like spandex, stretchable? I mean, were they regular clothes? Or?
Just regular clothes.
Really?
And back in the day, Doc Marten shoes were very popular. So we all basically had Doc Martens on, and they're pretty heavy because they're steel-toed. Yeah. And the poor stunt guys sometimes would get kicked with our Doc Martens. So that wasn't fun for them.
Okay, we got a question right here in the front row.
Hi, David. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
2 quick questions. The first was, were you guys surprised after doing the series that all of a sudden it's like, we want to make a movie? Like, how did you guys react to that? And also, when it came to the movie and you found out that you were switching to a wolf for your Zord, were you like, yes, a wolf? Or were you like, oh, but I like the Triceratops? Like, what was your reaction?
Yeah, well, first when we found out that we were doing, I mean, it's hard to explain to people how quickly the popularity escalated. It literally was overnight. And then when it became overnight worldwide, it was even crazier. So when they come in and say 20th Century Fox wants to shoot a movie, like that's a big deal back then. 20th Century Fox was one of the biggest studios making films at that time. And so super exciting, you know, and then just trying to navigate, well, what does that really mean, and all that. So, you know, they tried to keep us down, the producers, and try to make sure, because, you know, the more popular we got, the more power we have as actors, and they certainly did not want that. So they would try to keep as much information away from us as possible in terms of that. But it was exciting when we found out, and, you know, the whole process started with Austin and Twee and Walter being in the mix, and them actually going to do things and meeting with the producers of the film. And so, you know, it was really sad when those 3 were let go and we still had to go do the film because it just happened so quick. And then in terms of switching from Triceratops to the wolf, I mean, I was happy because I thought the wolf was pretty cool. But at the same time, I was like, well, what are we doing here? Because, you know, if something's not broke, you don't fix it. And I feel like a lot of things in this time were starting to happen, and it certainly changed the hype around the TV show and around the film. So a lot of you kids, no offense to any actors that stepped in. Mariah, that's my girl. They start playing her song right around Halloween, her Christmas song for Halloween. Done. So anyways, it was a lot of fun.
Now, you have a photo op at 1:30, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Doug?
Yeah, but we can go a little bit longer.
Okay, let's go a little bit longer. He's got a photo op. Any final questions? Of course, it's way in the back.
Yep,
so,
gotta get our steps in.
That's all right. Yep, let's do this. Got a question here. And so he's going to be headed to his photo op after this, then to his booth to sign and photos.
I know you probably can't say a lot, but are you at least sniffing around the Netflix announcement?
I sniff. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I have been working on a reunion series myself. It's called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, The Quantum Continuum, and it's an 8-episode limited series, and each episode is about 40 to 45 minutes, and it would bring back the original cast, including Trini and Bulk and Skull, and Trini's not being replaced, just so you know, but she's in every episode, and so, you know, I've been sniffing and talking, and I'm doing everything in my power at this point to bring it to fruition. I've been writing it. I reread so much this morning, and I'm excited about it, and I think if it comes to fruition, you guys would be really excited about it too. It's a little bit darker. I say it's Riverdale meets Star Trek meets Power Rangers.
Nice.
So it's sort of those three genres kind of all combined.
Nice.
And, we have a new villain that is infiltrating Earth, and it's up to the original team, I mean, really the only team, to save planet Earth. And how we come back together. You see where we've been in our lives, who we've been married to, who we're divorced from, who we've had kids with, how many kids we have, all that good stuff. So it has all of it. It's got drama, obviously comedy because it's Power Rangers. So you can only take it so serious for so long. But I tried to make it a little bit elevated to reach the demographic of 18 to 40-year-olds. So that's what I'm sniffing around about.
Good. Looks like we have one more question right over here.
Hi. In terms of the stunt work, I've noticed that in the first half of the first kind of season, it was a lot of Super Sentai, and then it kind of moved on to less Super Sentai and more you guys. How much stunt work did you end up doing, you personally end up doing, and how much did those gymnastics play into it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know if you were in here or not, we've sort of touched on it a couple of times, but whenever you see us as us, it's always us doing our stunts. And, as a gymnast, it certainly helped my abilities to flip around and do some things here and there. So, again, as civilians, we're always doing the fight. If you see people in costume, it was either the Super Sentai footage the first season, or we started from that point on, after season 1, we started filming everything here in the United States.
I think we're good. We good, everyone?
Okay. From the bottom of my heart, thank you guys all so much for being fans of Power Rangers. Truly means the world to me. And I appreciate you and I love you. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You can do better than that. Give it up, David Yost!
Hi, this is Michael Shanks, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The fate of the universe may depend on it. And have fun and follow your fandom.